Welcome to Madison Square Garden in New York City for the championship game here at the 2006 Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. The number 6 seed Pittsburgh in white, the number 9 seed Syracuse in orange. And it's the Panthers who control the opening tip. Ronald Ramon bringing it into the front court.
Then Syracuse in their trademark 2-3 zone, and Pittsburgh with the ball movement that they've demonstrated throughout this tournament should be very patient.
A collapse on the big guy Gray, and he has his shot rejected. Aaron Gray, 7 foot 270, the most improved player in the Big East, went right at the teeth of that Syracuse D and paid the price.
Well, you can't just walk there with Watkins in the middle.
Now pass off the fingertips of Terrence Roberts out of bounds and a back over to Pittsburgh. Three-guard set for Pittsburgh. Benjamin, Ramon, and Krauser, the orange in their trademark 2-3. Krauser with a deep three. Flashes the X for the Bronx. And Pittsburgh is on top. Underneath, McNamara, of all people, slips to the baseline and gets Syracuse on the board.
Looks like Syracuse believes they've got an advantage running McNamara on the baseline against Ronald Ramon.
Dave, thank you very much. Welcome to the final of the Big East Championship. We are just underway. Terrence Roberts with the slam on the feed from Eric Devendorf, and Syracuse up 1 on Pittsburgh. Perhaps an unlikely duo, Len, here in the championship game. Pittsburgh the number 6 seed, Syracuse the number 9 seed. Neither one of these teams earned a bye, so for the first time in a Big East tournament history, somebody's going to win 4 games in 4 days to win this championship.
Well, you got two grizzled veterans of Big East championship play. Carl Krauser for Pittsburgh, Jerry McNamara for Syracuse. And both of them represent what their teams are. Last-minute heroics and will by Syracuse and scrappiness by Pittsburgh.
Eric Devendorf with an NBA range 3, and the Orange are on top by 4. The lowest seed ever to win this tournament, it was number 6 Syracuse in '81. It should be mentioned that was on their own home court. The first 3 years of this tournament were not played here in New York. This is the 24th year it's been at Madison Square Garden. We have an over-the-back foul going, I believe, against Sam Young of Pittsburgh. And let's get you set with the starting lineups tonight, beginning with Syracuse. You know all of what Jerry McNamara has done, a phenomenal week for him. Darrell Watkins playing some good basketball in the middle for the Orange. Carl Krauser had a career-high 32 points against Syracuse in their only regular season meeting back in January. And both teams, both coaching staffs, consider Krauser to be a phenomenal player against zone defense. And actually in January, Len, Syracuse came out of the zone for long stretches of the game.
Well, they had to. Again, Carl Krauser, a catch and shoot guy, still with the ability to drive the gaps and create for other people. But we talked about it. This is the 4th game in 4 nights for both of these teams. Depth is going to be an issue. Pittsburgh's bench outscored the starters 38-30, and no starter played more than 30 minutes last night for Pittsburgh. On the other side, Syracuse found some guys to give them some depth. Matt Gorman, Louis McCroskey gave good minutes off the bench.
Foul inside committed by Gray will send Terrence Roberts to the line. As you may have heard after that Benjamin airball, it is a very pro-Syracuse crowd. There is orange all over the building. Aaron Gray, the foul is first. Roberts goes to the line for the Orange. He is a dismal free throw shooter at 41%. Our star watch tonight, who else would we pick but Jerry McNamara and Carl Krauser, two guys who seem like they've been around the Big East for about a decade.
Well, obviously with the emotional swings of the last 3 games, you wonder how much Jerry McNamara has in the tank. Has difficulty versus the Pitt man-to-man, 8 of 24 from the field, including 2 of 13 from 3 against them. And Carl Krauser loves the 2-3 zone, career high the last time he saw orange.
McNamara not 100% healthy, has been dealing with a groin injury, sat out 8 minutes in the first half last night against Georgetown, but had a phenomenal second half, leading the Orange to a comeback from a 15-point deficit.
And the other aspect, when you're playing a 2-3 zone, Pittsburgh has it in its favor, the fact that they rebound so well. And obviously you rebound well against the zone.
Pittsburgh turns it over. The Panthers have dominated their three opponents in rebounding here in this tournament. Ball out of bounds. Syracuse up by 5 early. McNamara and the Orange trying to defend their tournament crown. They gathered in Gotham to separate, to step up, to stand out, to leave their stamp on these streets.
Let's go.
He's feeling it. Jerry McNamara is reminding everyone the Orange are the defending champions.
McNamara, a three-point run. Jerry McNamara for the second day in a row.
McNamara got it. Man, has he been clutch this week. Grit, aggression, and an emphasis on teamwork. The Panthers play fits perfectly with this place. Tough and together. Only one can carve it on the trophy and pound it out on their chest. Of all that have come here, we are the best. 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain. Back here in New York for the championship game of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. I think a lot of people were expecting Connecticut-Villanova Part 3 here on Saturday night. Dan Schulman, Len Elmore with you. Instead, we've got Syracuse and Pittsburgh, two worthy teams, two teams who have really earned their way here. Remember the name has been the theme of the week here in New York. Nobody's ever going to forget Jerry McNamara's name after what he's done this week.
And well, they shouldn't. Jerry McNamara has literally willed his team to 3 victories. It's his supreme confidence. This is his 4th and last Big East championship. He knows what it takes to win. The high water mark about getting his front line involved was UConn. 10 assists in the first half, 5 assists last night. He gets his guys involved early, and he takes over at the end.
If he doesn't make that first 3 that you saw in that package against Cincinnati on Wednesday, Syracuse is out of this tournament and maybe not even in the NCAA tournament.
Man.
Talk about getting the big fella involved. McNamara to Roberts, and the Orange are off to a flying start.
Well, that's the formula. You know, much malign has been Roberts, Watkins, and to some extent Nichols. But the fact is, you continue to feed your horses, they will run for you. These guys are more animated when they're involved in the offense.
Kendall uses the glass. Levon Kendall, the junior out of Vancouver, missed a game a couple of days ago with the back spasms, coming off the bench tonight, and he hits that foul line jumper that becomes so important when you play against the 2-3.
Absolutely, that's the sweet spot. You need a guy who can hit that shot as well as read the defenses and pass.
McNamara gets it back. Still plenty of time. 15 on the shot clock. A travel on Devendorf. Let's go to the third member of our crew tonight, Mark Jones.
Guys, Jerry McNamara telling me before the game 2 more long sessions in the ice tub and with the electrical stimulator machine to help ease the pain of that sore groin that he's been nursing all season long. He's logging a lot of minutes. I asked him about the possibility of subbing himself out of the game early like he did yesterday. He said, no way, Mark. We came out yesterday in the first half and played like dogs. I have to be on the floor to help set the tempo. McNamara with the ball finished up his pregame prep with a text message from Akeem Warwick, last year's MVP, who told him, Jerry, go do your thing. Back to you guys.
Well, he's been doing his thing all week, and there's a block or a foul is called on Devendorf. Devendorf was sure it was clean. Jim Boeheim agrees with his players, shaking his head in the direction of lead official Jim Burr.
Well, that was just a nice job by Devendorf to come over the screen and not give up on it. And that certainly looked like all ball.
At the line, Ronald Ramon, one of many, many New York City area players on these two teams. Ramon is from the Bronx. All Hallows High. He made some tough shots last night in Pittsburgh's win over Villanova when Pittsburgh's backcourt, Ramon, Graves, Levansfield, stepped up and played some terrific basketball, leading Pittsburgh to a win over the Wildcats.
And the guys you mentioned, Graves, Fields, Kendall came off the bench. and really outscored the starters. And Ronald Ramon, the only starter to play 30 minutes. So you've got some fresh legs. Carl Krauser in foul trouble yesterday, only 20 minutes on the floor. Expect him to try to go to full 40 if possible.
And keep an eye on the guy who just checked in, number 2, Levance Fields, a very talented freshman. A Brooklyn kid out of Xaverian High, and he has been very impressive under the bright lights here this week in New York.
There's a bit of a mismatch right there. Demetrius Nichols on Carl Krauser, and that's what he can do. Nichols with excellent range. He's got the shorter Krauser on him, no hesitation.
Nichols, the second leading scorer on the team, 13.5 per game, buries the 3. Good start for Syracuse. Krauser, a deep 3. Kendall keeping it alive. Roberts comes up with a loose ball. Right now again, Krauser is on Nichols. That's where the mismatch is. 6'8", being defended by 6'2".
But out on the perimeter, if Carl Krauser has a mind to do it, he should be denying Nichols. Make them go away from him. If Nichols decides to post, then it's a problem.
Devendorf, the backhanded pass to McNamara for 3. What an unbelievable story. The Syracuse Orange have been here this week, coming in as the number 9 seed and needing last second or last few second plays to advance each game, winning 3 games by a total of 4 points to get here to the championship game. They are the defending Big East tournament champions. The turnover by McNamara. Offensive foul. Antonio Graves. His first.
Well, then just a little handoff. Jerry McNamara loves to come off that down screen, and Devendorf with a nice little backflip behind his back to get McNamara shot beyond the screen. And McNamara's toughness has a lot to do with his ability to get open. He'll take the bumps and the bangs. He'll run off screens and get knocked down, but he'll get back up.
And he has taken on much more of a leadership role recently, helping out his teammates as Nichols hits a long 2 to make it 18-7. This team has really come together. Some questionable chemistry at times this year, but they are a unit right now and playing like it.
Well, Pittsburgh, again, obviously having trouble scoring. They've got to stop looking just for threes and start moving the ball inside out and cover the weak side glass. Their advantage is in rebounding, but have taken a number of shots without anyone covering the weak side.
And now, Len, that last shot that was knocked down by Nichols was ruled a 2, and Tim Higgins is going to review it to see if it should be a 2 or a 3.
You see the drive. There's a foot, at least 1 foot on the line. Yep.
Yeah, clearly a 2. So Tim Higgins sees what you just saw at home and lets both coaches know. Still a terrific start for Syracuse. They had to come from behind, down 15 against Georgetown at the half last night. The biggest halftime comeback in the Big East tournament history. Had a big lead against UConn, had to hang on for dear life, and then actually come back to force overtime and needed the miraculous 3 in the last second by McNamara to beat Cincinnati on Wednesday.
Well, one thing if you're a Pittsburgh fan to recognize is slow start but solid defense can get you back in the ball game.
Boy, they better figure out a way to play that, though. Same play, same result, except this time for 3 for Nichols. And the pro-Syracuse crowd is loving this start by the Orange. A very inconsistent year for the Orange. Had a 4-game losing streak, a bubble team coming into the tournament. Graves will bury a 3, and Antonio Graves, terrific last night with 18, knocks down the long J.
Well, Antonio Graves, a junior, a veteran. Last year, shot over 40% from beyond the arc, averaged almost 8 points a game. So he understands what it takes to score.
Loose ball run down by Roberts, who played only 2 minutes in the second half last night. Matt Gorman got all of his time because Roberts wasn't playing well.
When I talk about Graves understanding what it takes to score, getting to the right spots off of penetration where the ball handler can find him. He's a catch and shoot guy.
McNamara, Roberts for another slam. Timeout, Pittsburgh. It's all orange in the house right now in New York. Let's go back to the studio for a 30-30 update. Here's Reese Davis. All right, Reese, thanks very much. 13-point lead for the Orange. Len, what is Syracuse doing so well offensively tonight?
Well, they're moving the ball. Look at the penetration. And again, once you penetrate, that front line is frozen looking to help. Plus, you got inexperienced guys on that front line. Aaron Gray just replaced Terrell Biggs, but in the end, Biggs was in the wrong position. It comes down to, though, Pittsburgh's defense and not staying in front of the ball handlers. Syracuse 9 of 12 from the field. They're getting excellent looks.
Len McNamara's gone to the bench. Josh Wright, number 30, has checked in for him.
It's pretty simple right there. Josh Wright almost got by Levon Kendall. You got to make Syracuse ball handlers go east-west.
And a held ball, says Jim Burr. It will remain with Syracuse when we come back after immediate timeout. Jerry McNamara off to a hot start, as are the Orange, up 13 on the Panthers.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of Championship Week is presented by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up. And in part by OnStar by GM. To learn more, visit OnStar.com.
Well, as folks who were watching the games in the Garden last night will remember, Allen Ray suffered what looked initially like a very serious eye injury, was rushed to hospital. And the news, what little of it there was that we got from the Villanova folks last night, did not sound very good. But late in the night, after midnight, in fact, the news got much better. Mark Jones was here at the time when the good news came out, so let's let Jonesy give you the latest on Allen Ray's condition.
Yeah, Dan, at about 1 a.m. in the morning, vision had returned to Allen Ray's right eye. They're calling it a soft tissue injury to the eye. He was able to accompany Villanova home today to Philadelphia. Now he's taking medication in the form of drops. He's going to be seeing a specialist in Philadelphia on Sunday or Monday. It's yet to be determined when Ray will be able to turn to the basketball court, but one of his family members close to the situation told me it could be as early as Thursday. Carl Krauser, meanwhile, Dan, tells me that he's hoping to get in touch with Allen Ray. Didn't have time to do it today, but hoping to get in touch with him to say that he's sorry for what happened, although it was an accident. Back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you. Well, Ray and Krauser have known each other forever. Krauser's a little bit older, but says, quote, Allen is like a little brother to me. I know his entire family. And Krauser had very little idea. A lot of people, players, coaches, had very little idea how serious it was when it happened, but fortunately, it looks like it is less serious than it appeared it would be, and there is a chance, although it's a little bit premature, there is a chance that Allen Ray could play when the NCAA tournament begins.
Dan, the combination Pittsburgh has out on the floor right now is the one that did the damage to Villanova yesterday. Combination of Graves and Fields and Ramon in the backcourt particularly worked off of Fields' ability to penetrate, spot up jump shooters in Graves and Ramon.
McNamara comes back in, replacing Devendorf, who just picked up his second foul. Sam Young in for Levon Kendall for Pittsburgh. They met once during the regular season in Pittsburgh, and the Panthers won 80-67. They have beaten Syracuse 3 times in a row in 8 of their last 10. Pittsburgh looking for its second Big East Tournament championship. Syracuse looking for its 5th as Sam Young turns it over. Jamie Dixon, the third-year head coach of the Panthers, was an assistant when Pittsburgh won the Big East championship 3 years ago, was the head coach when they got to the final 2 years ago and lost to UConn. And by the way, congratulations to the former head coach of Pittsburgh, Ben Howland, whose UCLA Bruins won the Pac-10 tournament today. And I'm sure after the obligatory media session after the game, Coach Howland is looking for a TV to try to see how his old team is doing. And the answer right now, Ben, is not very well at all. McNamara another 2, 15-point lead for the Orange.
And again, an inability to stay in front of Jerry McNamara to keep him from getting all the way to the glass and creating problems.
McNamara with 7, Roberts with 7, Nichols with 8. Syracuse out to a big lead.
And look at the way Syracuse recovers. Fields penetrates, kicks it, but still a shooter is covered by a defender.
That pass out of bounds. It'll stay with Pittsburgh.
Again, when I talk about staying in front of Jerry McNamara, it requires a supreme effort defensively. Now here's Ramon after the hedge, and McNamara with that change of direction just blows right by him, right there. Steps right by him, and Gray very slow to step up. And the reason he's slow to step up because he knows as soon as he makes a move towards McNamara, McNamara dishes to his man for the dunk.
Krauser back in for Graves for Pittsburgh. Ramon, maybe the best shooter the Panthers have, misses the three, and the rebound to Josh Wright. Wright might get extended minutes here tonight. Devendorf has 2 fouls. Look at the shooting percentage for Syracuse, 71%.
And that's surprising. Again, Pittsburgh known for a pretty good and pretty tough man-to-man.
Gorman misses off the glass. Rebound Krauser. And a hold. Tim Higgins with the call, and it's going to go against Josh Wright. That'll be his first.
Boy, that's a tough situation now, coming down on a fast break and seeing shifty Carl Krauser bearing down on you. You got no choice sometimes but to reach out and hold.
He's not the quickest guard in the league, but if he wants to get somewhere, chances are pretty good he's going to get there. Same can be said for Levance Fields. He's got some Krauser characteristics.
But Syracuse doing a nice job of taking away the penetration from Fields.
Ray had more room, I think, than he realized. Elected to take the jump shot. Offensive rebound. Krauser's three. Sam Young had it. Krauser in there coming up with it, and he gets a timeout called. And good sportsmanship there. A couple of seniors, McNamara and Krauser, who have been battling year after year here in the Big East. ESPN's coverage of Championship Week continues tomorrow afternoon. It will be Boston College taking on Duke for the ACC Championship. All a part of Championship Week presented by 7-Up. The ACC Championship is subject to blackout in ACC markets. Duke over Wake today, and BC in a terrific game, defeating North Carolina. Well, Jerry McNamara, Len, he's been the big story here in the Big East the last 3 days, and he's looking to make it 4 in a row.
Well, he certainly is. And again, running Ramon on the baseline, they're getting his front line guys involved. And right here, open shots. If you're an opponent, you just can't give him open looks. And he's got the feeling right now. He's 3 wins in a row that he's willed his team to. He can smell the 4th. And the championship.
McNamara already with 4 assists tonight. He has scored 17 points in each of the first 3 games, but it's when he has scored the bulk of those points that has been most impressive, and he's had a ton of assists in this tournament. He's had 27, now 31, including tonight. 31 assists already in this tournament.
And for me, that's more important than the total points. Obviously, the last-second heroics makes the difference, but the fact that he gets others involved and gets them focused on playing is the consummate leadership.
Nice ball movement by the Panthers, resulting in a jumper for Sam Young. 25-12 Syracuse.
And a nice adjustment by Pittsburgh to get Aaron Gray out of that sweet spot. That's not his position.
Josh Wright on the drive, out of bounds to the Panthers as we go to a timeout. What a name Jerry McNamara has made for himself here in New York these past few days. Back here in Midtown of Manhattan, the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Welcome back to the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. A 13-point lead for Syracuse, and what a week it's been not only for Jerry McNamara but for Hall of Fame coach Jim Boeheim. Remember him rallying to the defense of McNamara at a press conference and using some profanity, which he later regretted, but just getting as angry as I think any of us has ever seen him, because McNamara's worth was questioned in a couple of newspaper articles. Then at halftime of the game against Georgetown last night, the Orange down 15. Boeheim, tongue-in-cheek, says to his players he just got off the phone with a couple of committee members, and he'd been informed if they don't come back and beat Georgetown, they're not going to the tournament, which, of course, after the win over UConn he knew it was preposterous that they were in, but you got to pull out some motivational tools every now and again, and Jim Boeheim has gone to the bag of tricks this week.
We've got a lot of coaches and amateur psychologists. I think watching too much Dr. Phil.
Let's go to Mark Jones.
I can tag on that, guys. Jerry McNamara, I asked him about the coach's thing about talking to a committee member. He said, well, we knew he was mad, but we didn't really believe him when he said that. Back to you.
Yeah, 21-year-olds not that gullible. Whoop. Yep. And a good call there by Tim Higgins. That's ruled as a held ball as Gorman came back down, but then in the arrow favors Pittsburgh. Gorman gave them some big minutes off the bench last night. He will come out right now. Roberts is checked back in, and Louis McCroskey will come in for Josh Wright as well.
So Gorman in the second half played 18 big minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, and had a key steal down the stretch that helped seal the deal for Syracuse.
The only lead, Len, that Syracuse had last night was the final score, 59-58. And Gorman's play was instrumental.
I was going to say, Jim Boeheim, though, not taking any chances right now. He may believe he's gotten as much as he can out of Matt Gorman. He's got Terrence Roberts back in the game, and Roberts needs to step up. Didn't score last night.
Krauser, a nice feed inside. Watkins got a piece of that shot by Young, and now Aaron Gray gets fouled. And Pittsburgh needs the big guy to get going. This is a first-team All-Big East performer. He is scoreless tonight. And as big as the numbers are in the tournament, and you can see the field goal percentage has jumped out at us because around the rim, Len, he hasn't finished as often as a guy his size should.
No, and a lot of it is just because he's pretty much rushing. I mean, this is a guy that's got length. He's got a decent touch, but I think, again, because he's in the position that he's in right now, feels the pressure and winds up rushing his shots. Now, the one thing that you can say about Aaron Gray is that he's keeping balls alive, and that's what Pittsburgh needs against this zone. They need to rebound offensively. Last couple of possessions, they have kept it alive, gotten some second chance points. Last night against Villanova, 25 second chance points off of 17 offensive rebounds. So they're capable.
Big start for Demetrius Nichols, as you see from the numbers. Misses that three, and a rebound to Gray, who led the Big East in rebounding this season. Graves inside. There's Gray with a strong finish.
Held his position nicely, and a nice delivery by Antonio Graves.
The Orange trying to become just the third program in Big East history to repeat as Big East tournament champions. Georgetown did it in '84 and '85. Connecticut did it in '98 and '99. Watkins forces one back up. Gray's got the rebound.
Much better job on Jerry McNamara coming off screens, the step outs, the hedges, really forcing McNamara to run figure eights to try to get open.
Gray's pass off the leg of Watkins, and Pittsburgh turns it over. McNamara off to Nichols, now gets it back. Krauser defending McNamara right now. These two seniors who have both been such prominent performers in this league the last 4 years.
Only fitting.
Nice feed. Watkins looked a little unsure. Not on the second go-round. If at first you don't succeed, jump up and slam that baby down.
Well, that first shot looked like a ball of confusion, and then finally when he hit the ground, instinct took over.
Watkins has had some nice games in this tournament, averaging about 12 points and 7 rebounds. Out of bounds, it'll stay with Pitt. Gray having to work hard, felt he was fouled.
Well, right here, you see the double clutch. He didn't know what to do with it, but as soon as he hit the ground, everything slowed down for Darryl Watkins, and he reverted back to his strength, which is his athleticism around the hoop.
Watkins a bit of a quiet start tonight. A block, and then Kendall is fouled on the follow.
We got some words right here.
Krauser and Roberts getting into each other's face, and maybe this was inevitable at some point given what's at stake and the personalities of some of the participants.
Well, there's Krauser right there. It gets banged by two guys and no call. And then Roberts leaning on him, and he decides, Krauser decides to take matters in his own hands. Now, you can't mess with Carl Krauser now. He's not going to back down, even if you're 6'9", 240. And, you see the respect that Syracuse has for Krauser. They're trying to calm him down. McNamara, Devendorf, give him a little pat. Once again, there's a foul on Kendall, and really it came down to Roberts after blocking the shot. His hand kind of flew out there, and Krauser got tied up with him, and Krauser throws his hand up. And you see the little smile on Roberts' face. He's looking at the little guy. They're looking to see if a punch was thrown possibly, and I don't think so.
Jim Burr and Ed Corbett over to the monitor to see if what Krauser did constitutes a punch. I would agree with you that it was more of a shove than a punch.
Well, look, their arms got tied up. There's the bump right there. That should have been a foul call, so that's going to raise the emotion. And then Roberts just kind of resting his arm on Krauser, and Krauser upset because the foul wasn't called. Arms tangled. right there. And just a push away.
Krauser really doing both things. Krauser inadvertently perhaps hit Roberts the first time and then more purposefully hit him the second time. Jamie Dixon asking for an explanation from Ed Corbett. Krauser, as all Big East fans know and a lot of fans around the country know, is from New York City, he's from the Bronx.
Never lets you forget it.
That's right. And I don't know that we've seen a Big East player who enjoys playing in New York and to whom it means as much to play in New York as Carl Krauser. And win or lose, this is going to be his last game in this building as a collegian, and he's got a chance to win a second Big East tournament title. It means the world to him. Not that it doesn't to the other players, but he wears his emotions on his sleeve more than anybody else in this game. Graves now defending McNamara. Tried to thread the needle to Roberts. Loose ball. Ramon on the floor. Held ball. It'll stay at this end of the floor with Syracuse. The officials were told, decided that what Krauser did was an inadvertent elbow, so that's why they didn't penalize him in any way.
I think they might have seen the whole play and see how it started with Krauser getting fouled and already raised his ire. And this is a game where you got to keep your emotions in check.
Syracuse turnover on the inbounds.
You know, you get too emotional, you lose focus.
But he does have a way like that of smiling and joking and getting back onto the good side of the officials.
Kind of Eddie Haskell.
Devendorf back in. He's playing with a couple of fouls. Kendall thought about Young on the baseline. Pittsburgh considered a very good interior passing team with their big guys.
So Kendall's got to read that. Watkins comes up. Kendall's got to try to drive around him.
And Kendall fouled again. I believe it'll be McCroskey. Syracuse and McNamara in a zone this week. Others at the zone taken in the Big East Tournament Championship game. There's no question about that, Reese. It seems like about 3 months ago, not 3 days ago, that Syracuse was on the bubble needing a miracle shot to beat Cincinnati. Hey, don't forget ESPN's coverage of the Big 12 championship game comes your way tomorrow afternoon at 3 Eastern. Championship week presented by 7-Up. The number 1 seed Texas, the number 2 seed Kansas, and the Phillips 66 Big 12 championship. Is Texas perhaps still in play for a 1 seed? Or did Memphis lock it up today? Ohio State maybe still in the conversation. A lot on the line for Texas and Kansas tomorrow afternoon.
Well, actually, I don't know. My personal opinion is I think those 4 top seeds are locked up.
Done. Memphis locked it up today?
Yeah, they did. I mean, the weaker conference, the Conference USA, Memphis just rushed through that conference tournament. It wasn't easy, but they still made it and won the championship, and I think that solidified their position in folks' mind. And I think Villanova and UConn, their body of work speaks for them.
Agreed.
As well as Duke.
A deep three by Antonio Graves, playing with a ton of confidence the last couple of days. Roberts, a tough catch, and he is the king of the high percentage shot here tonight.
Well, that time Roberts just abused freshman Sam Young. Young trying to do all he could to hold Roberts off and just kind of got shed by Roberts.
Pittsburgh smaller right now with Kendall and Young in the front court.
Nice
Aaron Gray on the bench. Kendall blocked from behind. Loose ball bounces to Young. Shot clock didn't reset. It's at 15.
Boy, a lot of physical play inside, and shot blockers not only just putting their hands up but swinging down. And when you swing down, usually there's a call.
Wow, there was no call there on what looked like an over and back. Tim Higgins said the ball was deflected. Maybe justice is served as Syracuse picks it up. And Jim Boeheim saying that ball wasn't tipped. That classic Boeheim facial expression we've all seen for so many years.
Yeah, that was literally thrown into the backcourt unless McNamara got his hand on it first. It's hard to tell, but McNamara reached.
You talked about the physical play. Syracuse initiating more than their fair share of that, and usually in a Pittsburgh game you expect the Panthers to be the aggressive ones physically.
Well, Syracuse definitely matching them, and out there too much respect by Antonio Graves, too much room for Jerry McNamara.
McNamara with his second 3 of the night and career 3, number 399. Krauser's floater won't go. Gray with a rebound, and Devendorf just picked his pocket.
Because he brought it down into Devendorf's face.
Devendorf missing the 15-footer, punches his fist in the air in disgust as Krauser brings it back the other way. Pittsburgh will not go quietly into the night. A nice comeback against West Virginia from a dozen down to win 2 days ago. Graves from the corner. He's the hot hand right now.
And as I mentioned, catch and shoot guy, good ball movement. He has to make himself available and be assertive just to keep his team in. I mentioned again, if you can play solid defense, you always got a chance, even if you fall behind early.
And defense has been a staple of Pittsburgh's success in recent years under both Ben Howland and Jamie Dixon. Watkins shows a little dexterity and agility as he scoops it up and in.
And we talked about the importance of getting the big guys, the front line of Syracuse, involved early. They get involved on the offensive end. You watch how quickly they move, how much animation, how much vitality they have on the defensive end.
Krauser a deep three. And it's game on right now here in the Garden. Second three of the night for Carl Krauser.
Important stop for Pittsburgh right here. They can get the last possession and will have made a stop, make them feel pretty good about themselves.
McCroskey out of control, runs right into the chest of Kendall, who seems to take a charge or two every game. Second foul on Louis McCroskey.
Well, it's half right. Pretty good defensive possession. They won't get the last shot.
Right.
And here playing defense against Jerry McNamara. Look at Graves, gives him too much room and too much respect. McNamara makes a hard move to the right and Graves retreats.
About a 10-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Fields back into the game and out for Pittsburgh. They have narrowed the gap. They were once down by as many as 15.
Boy, it really bothers me when Aaron Gray keeps bringing that ball down to his waist. He's just asking for a strip.
Will Gray take the baseline jumper? No. 8 on the shot clock. Floater by Krauser. Tip back out by Gray, and you were right. They will get the last shot of the half.
Again, second chance opportunity so important for Pittsburgh.
Down to 5 seconds. Fields in a little trouble. Krauser, offensive foul. The first on Krauser.
Well, Carl Krauser recognized shot clock going down. Boy, I don't know. It's a bang-bang play. Official calls what he sees. But in that situation, particularly on the jump stop, Krauser goes up in the air. The defender cannot get underneath him when he comes down.
So Carl Krauser and the Panthers face an uphill battle. They are trailing Syracuse by 9 at the break. Jerry McNamara, another big half. He's got 10 points. Graves leads Pittsburgh with 9 as we go to Mark Jones with Pittsburgh head coach Jamie Dixon.
Coach McNamara running a lot of pick and rolls. How do you adjust your defense in the second?
We did a good job as we got going there. We got down a little bit with the offense, but we came back, put ourselves in a good position. We'll be all right.
Graves gave you guys a bit of a boost in the late part of the first half. Why?
Well, he's a good shooter. He made open shots. We got him good looks. So we got a number of guys who can step up. We shot the ball well at the end. So we'll continue getting good inside touches and get the ball to our shooters.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Guys, back to you.
Mark, thank you very much. Jerry McNamara with 10 in the first half. Krauser with 6. Syracuse by 9. It is time now for the 7-Up halftime report. Back to the studio. Reese, Jay, and Digger. Fellas.
Skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain.
Welcome back to New York. The final of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Syracuse shooting 54% of the first half. The only reason Pittsburgh is in this game is because of their offensive rebounding. Dan Shulman, Len Elmore. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, Jerry McNamara is doing it again, Len.
Well, he certainly is. And when you look at his performance over the last 3, now 4 nights, you compare it to some of the great performances. Ray Allen in the 90s, Talik Brown with a winning shot, Ben Gordon taking over, championship game, Jerry McNamara written right in those annals.
And I think what even elevates his performance again is the situation Syracuse was in coming into the tournament and the timing of some of his biggest plays being in the final seconds of each game to secure narrow victories.
And remember, he hasn't been trying to do it himself. He's getting other people involved, using himself as a decoy. The threat makes him so effective in dishing.
Pittsburgh perhaps fortunate to be within 9 with them shooting 28% to 54% for Syracuse. Let's see what adjustments they make, trying to find some room in that 2-3 zone.
Well, Syracuse doing a nice job. They're keeping the zone tight. They're covering shooters, very quick to the ball.
Good high-low right there, big to big, Gray to Young, and Pittsburgh back within 7.
Now, the reason that was available is because the zone had kind of backed off a little bit, and Aaron Gray had a chance to survey the area. And his size, he can pass over the zone.
Again, Krauser defending Nichols, giving up about 6 inches. Devendorf airballs a 3 as we go to Mark Jones.
Spoke to the Syracuse coaches at halftime. They say that offensively, they're going to have to be very wary of keeping guys fresh. They're going to rotate guys in early and often here in the first part of the second half. Defensively, they're happy with the way that they played against the picks on the top part of that Syracuse zone. But they warned they have to find Carl Krauser early at the defensive end. He has been a Syracuse killer in the past. Back to you guys.
He sure has. 32 points, a career high in January, and big production against them in a couple of wins last year as well. You saw Devendorf go to the bench. Josh Wright on to replace him.
And again, look at the activity of the wings. Terrence Roberts getting out to the shooters quickly.
Ramon's 3 just grazes the rim. Right in transition for the Orange, runs right over Krauser, who is called for the foul. Number 2 on Carl Krauser, who got steamrolled, but it's called a block as he was still moving at the time, and Wright looks like he got the worst of it.
Well, again, Carl Krauser trying to make the steal. I don't know about that. Krauser's hand was out to the side. He was set. That's pretty tough one there.
Been a frustrating night for Carl Krauser. He's been hot and cold in this tournament, but at times Aaron Gray or Levance Fields or Antonio Graves, it's really been a balanced team effort for Pittsburgh to get this far. Watkins got it.
Well, Aaron Gray's got to do his homework. Just because the defense made Nichols miss that shot doesn't mean that you can't block guys out. Darrell Watkins, I mentioned before, get him involved early, he'll get active.
Len, you talked about production from the Syracuse front court. Nichols, Roberts, and Watkins have combined for 23 points in this game.
Well, that's the key, and that's what sets up McNamara's heroics down the stretch, because you got to honor those guys.
Gray with the offensive rebound and 1. That's a big play for Pittsburgh.
Huge play. Aaron Gray with a bunch of offensive rebounds in this tournament, over 20. And right there, he just stays with it. Roberts gets there too late. Perseverance. Gray may not be pretty. He may not be all that efficient right now. 43 rebounds, and I bet you almost half of them are offensive rebounds.
I think more than half. 22 out of 43. And many of them, having seen all the games, are rebounds on his own misses. That was not the case right there. Give him the free throw, his 6th point. And bit by bit, Pittsburgh getting back into this game.
One of the things Pittsburgh has done thus far is cut down on the turnovers. At the end of the half, 9 turnovers, 16 Syracuse points off the turnovers, which to me was a huge difference in the game.
Josh Wright the miss. McNamara is on the bench right now for Syracuse. I spoke too soon. McNamara's checking back in. Wright will go out as Jim Boeheim's been unhappy with early shots by both Josh Wright and Eric Devendorf here in the second half.
Well, the overall offense starts to stagnate. You need Jerry McNamara to come back in with his motion, obviously his threat. When he has the ball, it forces the defense to honor him.
Great cut by Krauser. Good find by Sam Young. Pittsburgh doing a better job against the zone. Timeout. Look at the enthusiasm on the Pittsburgh bench right now. They were once down 15. They are back within 4. Pittsburgh on a 7-2 run out of halftime to get back within 4. The Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. And Elmore will take us inside the play, showing us how Pittsburgh gets inside the zone.
Well, we talked about, again, the wings extending to cover the jump shot. Take a look at Terrence Roberts right there. He's extended, looking to cover guys on the wings. But here, we talked about the guy in the middle in the sweet spot reading this defender. But this is the key right here. Aaron Gray's screen at the top takes Roberts out of the play. And wide open is Carl Krause underneath in a spot that Roberts should have been in.
Pittsburgh already with more points in the paint in the first 3 minutes of this half than they had the entire first half. That was the key to their success in their win over Syracuse in January, was getting inside the zone, making good things happen, so much so that the Orange came out of their zone for about 20 minutes in that game. McNamara being hounded on the perimeter by Graves. Now Watkins over Gray, and the foul is called on Gray. Jim Burr says for bringing those arms down on the shooter. Second on Gray will send Darryl Watkins to the line.
And that was a good call. Again, Aaron Gray needs to extend himself vertically, not bring those arms down to almost horizontal.
Watkins, a 52% free throw shooter. He did make 2 huge free throws in overtime in the win over Connecticut on Thursday.
Well, he was doing his best Jerry McNamara imitation on that one.
Syracuse, they could use more McNamara at the line. Overall, they're the worst free throw shooting team in the Big East. Although that was Georgetown's undoing in their loss to Syracuse. Gray with some decisions to make right there.
Nice.
Look at this.
Nice. No call.
Got his man in the air, looked for the contact, and no call.
There was certainly contact, though.
McNamara around the high screen. The kick for Nichols for 3. In a shooting slump in February, he's back to his old self here in March.
And again, it's the respect paid to Jerry McNamara to step out, trying to force him wide. McNamara never gives up his dribble and keeps his head up.
Gray underneath, lays it up and in with the left hand. He's asserting himself now with 8.
Again, the ability to throw over the zone, important for Pittsburgh. The length of Aaron Gray is key.
Devendorf all the way, loves to drive, gets the bounce. And that's a play again. One of the guard comes diagonally, kind of a little backhanded pass to the other guard who's cutting the other way diagonally. They've been running that for years with great success.
And it's difficult to switch on because of the ball handling ability, particularly if McNamara has the ability to split the double.
Graves' 3 rattles out. Nichols runs it down. It's out of bounds to the Orange. Syracuse leading by 8. Second half of the final here for the Big East Championship as we go back to Reese Davis for a Sports Center 30 at 30. Tonight's telecast is available in stunning high definition on ESPN HD, brought to you by Dish Network. Now, the coaching gene runs deep in the Dixon family. Not only Jamie, the head coach at Pittsburgh, his younger sister Maggie is the head coach at Army, and they just a few days ago won the Patriot League Championship. They're going to the dance. With more on the other coach, Dixon, here's Mark Jones.
Yeah, things weren't always smooth and easy for Maggie Dixon's Army team. They were actually 5-7 earlier this year. So Maggie picked up the telephone, called her brother, and asked, "What should I do?" Jamie's sage advice was to stay positive and never tear your players down. That's what he told Maggie Dixon. They went on to lead the Patriot League in scoring onto the NCAA berth, and she says that she wants her team to become the great defensive team that her brother's team is right now, although they gave up a shot there. I asked what Pittsburgh should be doing now. Maggie Dixon told me they got to go inside to the big fella, get him going.
Always coaching, even when watching a game. Terrence Roberts, who did not score last night, has 11 points here tonight. Syracuse up by 10.
Well, a nice play out of the huddle to go right at Levon Kendall. That was designed for Terrence Roberts right from the get.
Good look here for Graves. Gray had it, lost it, got it back. Big fella draws the foul and will go to the line for 2.
Well, as I mentioned, Aaron Gray not pretty, but you got to give him an A for effort. He stays in, he keeps the ball alive until he gets to a position where he can get it. And here, triple team, he goes to the baseline where there is no help for Syracuse and just powers up, as I've been saying for the last couple of nights.
Last year, a backup to Chris Taft, Chevy Troutman in the front court, but Gray has lost a lot of weight and has become a terrific player, the most improved player in the Big East. As we mentioned earlier on the night, he's just tied the Big East tournament record for most rebounds. 16 double-doubles this year, including 2 in this tournament, and he's inching closer to number 17. He makes 1 of 2.
Well, it's easier said than done, but Pittsburgh needs more ball pressure. Entry passes down low are too easy. You wind up getting Kendall exploited against Roberts. You got to get up. See, that pass is too easy. Krauser's got to get up, and he's got to make the passer pass it back to the side.
Offensive foul on Roberts. That will be his third. ESPN's coverage of Championship Week continues tomorrow afternoon. It's the ACC Championship game. Boston College taking on Duke. All the part of Championship Week presented by 7-Up. J.J. Redick suffering a knee injury today, but returning to play for the Blue Devils, who ousted Wake Forest. BC in a terrific basketball game, beating North Carolina by 3.
I'll tell you what, watching that BC Carolina game, I didn't see a team this whole day who executed their offense better than Boston College, and played pretty terrific defense as well against a very tough Carolina team.
Krauser thought about the three now inside the double team on Gray. Keith Benjamin has returned. Deep three for Krauser, way wide right. Didn't hit the rim. Kendall with the rebound. Now Benjamin with the rebound. And it's a fresh clock for Pittsburgh, doing what they do best, dominating on the glass. Count it for Benjamin. And both Coach Dixons love what they see right now.
Well, that's the story for Pittsburgh. They've got to scrap. You know, they got the big fella inside keeping it alive. He needs some help. And Benjamin to the rescue. Nice give and go right there. Playing with each other. And again, you talk about playing strong defense on one end, but you need offensive execution on the other, and Pittsburgh's starting to get it.
Big moment here, Len. Fourth foul on Roberts. Gorman comes in for him. Benjamin, the sophomore out of Mount Vernon, New York, completes the old-fashioned three-point play. Pittsburgh back within 6. They have 14 offensive rebounds in this game.
So there's where you got to stop Jerry McNamara off the screen. You got to make him stop and pick up his dribble.
Watkins has it knocked away. Good save by Benjamin. Pittsburgh basketball. Levance Fields back into the game for the Panthers. Nowhere to go there for Benjamin, but it stays with Pitt. And Jerry McNamara looks more upset right now than shaken up as he's getting in Nichols' face. Look at the rebounding advantage for Pittsburgh in the first 3 games, and they are continuing that here tonight. Now a call goes against Pittsburgh. Aaron Gray picked up his 3rd foul. Jamie Dixon didn't like that at all.
And the rebound margin is not just about size. You looked in the last time there was a scrum for the ball. You saw 3 guards in there battling for the rebounds as well. Pittsburgh will send everybody if necessary.
Nichols from the corner will shoot 3 free throws. Benjamin fouled him. Let's go to the other end and see what Aaron Gray did on the inbounds play.
Well, he's fighting to get position.
Use that right arm to try to hook around the defender. They're calling a lot more of that. Nichols now with 12 points. Roberts has 11. Although Roberts is on the bench right now with 4 fouls, and Matt Gorman is going to get extended minutes again. Here comes Sam Young for the Panthers. Aaron Gray will sit down.
Well, the thing about Terrence Roberts being on the bench, it takes away a reliable post scorer. You know, if you want your outside game to work, you got to have somebody reliable on the blocks.
Just 1 of 3 for Nichols, who's a 69% free throw shooter. Pittsburgh hanging around with Syracuse. They were down as many as 15 in the first half. A trap down on the baseline, and then good hustle by Krauser to poke it away, but it's still Syracuse ball.
Yeah, Pittsburgh trying to go high-low against the zone, and the guys on the baseline, Sam Young's got to be strong with the ball, because once you receive on that short corner, Syracuse is going to double you. That was the success that they had against Georgetown in the second half, and particularly down the stretch for the winning basket. It was a double team in the short corner, a steal, and the layup that sealed it.
Syracuse, the number 9 seed in this tournament, the lowest seed ever to advance to the championship game. Devendorf's floater won't go. Watkins is there, misses the follow. And now Pittsburgh has it. The Panthers are the number 6 seed. Whoever wins for the first time in a Big East tournament history, somebody will win 4 games in 4 days to win this tournament. Pittsburgh's getting to the rim, Len, drawing fouls and narrowing the gap.
Well, in that instance, it was about beating someone to the loose balls. Again, just a little off the penetration, just a little dump off. And the loose balls that have been occurring right now have been going to Pittsburgh's favor, and they don't just stop with it. They continue to go to the basket, as we saw Antonio Graves.
Sam Young, now 7 points, had a double-double in a surprise start for the then-injured Levon Kendall against West Virginia a couple of days ago. Louis McCroskey back in. Demetrius Nichols sits down. So Pittsburgh now with less of a size disadvantage than they've had most of the night. Pittsburgh fans who are badly outnumbered here tonight starting to make a little bit more noise. It's down to 4.
See, even in that double team, you got to try to make McNamara give up his dribble.
Foul going against the Orange. The Panthers are fired up. Pittsburgh's getting back into this game. Syracuse by 4. The Big East Championship on the line.
Let's go.
What a Big East championship it's been, and as mentioned, nobody has ever won 4 games in 4 days to win the Big East championship. 3 previous teams have gotten to the final only to lose. 4th game tonight for both of these schools, so Big East history will be made. Somebody's going to win 4 in 4 days. Is fatigue an equal factor? We talked about it off the top of the show. Then Pittsburgh is deeper. Their bench is more productive. Is that something that worries Jim Boeheim?
I'm sure it does. And again, you talk about both teams at this point in time, the next 6 or 7 minutes key, because you're trying to get your best players some rest so that they can have rested legs down the stretch in the last 5 minutes of the ball game. Now, Pittsburgh obviously getting more from their bench in this particular game, 12 points to 0 from Syracuse. So production is something that's going to really scare Jim Boeheim.
Graves with a block. Krauser and Gray on the bench right now for Pittsburgh. Sam Young comes up with a rebound. They've got Graves, Fields, and Kendall off the bench in the game right now. Benjamin, a quick, tough shot, and the rebound for McCroskey. Jamie Dixon's not happy with that shot. Watkins, nice pass inside. Gorman is fouled.
Well, it's the diagonal pass. The help comes up, and you look diagonally and find an open man, and Watkins did a nice job there.
Well, let's illustrate the difference in the bench scoring as Gorman goes to the line looking for the first Syracuse bench point of the night. Well, they still have none, and Pittsburgh getting great contributions from Antonio Graves. They've got 12 tonight. Pittsburgh's bench averages about 26 points per game on the season. They had 38 against Villanova last night.
And actually outscored the starters.
Graves a big reason why. He had 18 last night, has 9 tonight.
But in the end, it's about manipulating your rotation so that you have fresh legs going down the stretch. This is going to be a close game. Both coaches anticipate that.
Fields open, missed the 3. Young keeps it alive. And Jim Burr says it'll be Syracuse basketball as we bring in Mark Jones.
Levance Fields there, guys, with a rare miss. He's shooting 54% off the bench in this tournament. Had 14 yesterday against Villanova, but what really illustrates his confidence, a sequence yesterday. He hit a 3-pointer and 1 over a Villanova player, walked over the Pittsburgh fans and said, for everyone to hear, hey, we have great guards too. Back to you guys.
All right, great stuff, Mark. Thank you. As McNamara will go to the line. Syracuse not getting to the line all that often. And one of the things they were focusing on before the game land was let's get to the line more. In the game between Pittsburgh and Syracuse in January, Pittsburgh shot 35 free throws and Syracuse shot only 5.
There's another rarity.
And there are Jerry McNamara's parents, Jerry and Joyce. Can't believe he missed a free throw. They've seen every game he's played, and they don't see that very often. 1 of 2 for McNamara, 91% on the season. Syracuse is a team we mentioned last in the Big East in free throw shooting on the year, 5 for 11 tonight.
Last night, Carl Krauser in foul trouble, only logged 20 minutes. He shouldn't have any problem with fatigue. Jerry McNamara played 32. So it'll be interesting to monitor how he's going as time wears on.
Watkins active at the defensive end, comes up with another rebound. Great hustle defensively by Fields to knock that pass away.
The one time Jerry McNamara should have thrown the bounce pass.
Foul committed by Louis McCroskey to stop that transition.
But you're right, Levance Fields. Really take a look at the hustle right here. Just gets its hand out. Again, a bounce pass might have served Syracuse a little bit better on that one. Fields might not have caught up with that one.
7th team foul already on Syracuse. So Krauser at the line. And again, the familiar X for the Bronx every time he makes a free throw. Thought about going into the NBA. Prospects weren't what he hoped. Came back for his senior season. Another great regular season for Pittsburgh. Started the year 15-0, went 10-6 in the Big East. 16th ranked, but 6th seeded in this rugged league. But wins over Louisville, West Virginia, and Villanova to get to the championship game.
See, that's what happens when you go too far on the screen. McNamara has the ability to split the double.
10th rebound for Aaron Gray. Pittsburgh has made a game of it here in the second half. Gray.
Oh.
And one, and the big fella can bring him back within a point.
Well, Darrell Watkins, and the last time these two teams met, had 5 blocks. But here, Aaron Gray, Watkins waiting for the block. Nice little pump fake. And when you pump fake a shot blocker who's poised to block it, the shot blocker's weight starts to rise in anticipation of leaving his feet. And then you go up strong. It's very difficult for the shot blocker to recover. So Gray with some ball fakes, very effective down low.
Yet another double-double, his 17th of the season. The Pittsburgh coaching staff says they knew how good this guy was going to be. When they played pickup basketball in the summer, he was always the first pick of the players. And his free throw has brought Pittsburgh back within one after being down by as many as 15. A block by Sam Young. It is Pittsburgh basketball. The Panthers have a chance to take the lead.
And remember, in the first half, even when Pittsburgh was down, I told Pittsburgh fans again, when you play solid defense, you've always got a chance. Pittsburgh righted the ship on the offensive end, found ways to get into the heart and teeth of that zone, get some baskets, get to the free throw line, and their defense thus far has carried them to this point.
Then the last time Pittsburgh led was at 3-2 back in the opening moments of the game. Let's see if they try to get Gray involved inside again. Young on the baseline, Pittsburgh on top. Timeout, Syracuse. Back here in New York, Championship Week presented by 7-Up. The championship game here at the Big East presented by Aeropostale. Pittsburgh on top. And Len, the saying is you have to be lucky to be good, and Pittsburgh was a little bit of both right here.
Well, they're good in getting into the gaps of the zone, but look right there at Sam Young's foot on the line. The official standing right there, but never looks down. And again, driving the gaps, getting into the heart of that defense by Carl Krauser creates that opportunity. In Syracuse, they're going to make an adjustment. They're going to have to force the ball to the side, as well as keep Krauser when he's at the top from driving the gaps.
2 teams in the tournament, 2 teams looking at pretty solid seeds. This is all about Big East supremacy right here. And this week has been all about Jerry McNamara. That is his 400th career three-pointer, becoming just the 6th player in NCAA history to reach that milestone.
Well, you can't think of a better stage or a bigger stage to have this kind of performance over the course of 4 days. And Jerry McNamara, right man in the right place. What a way, what a legacy to leave.
He has willed them to 3 victories, trying to make it 4 in a row. The Orange trying to repeat as Big East tournament champs. Ronald Ramon short on the 3. Out of bounds to Syracuse as we go to a media timeout. Can Jerry McNamara do it one more time? He's got 14, and the Orange are up by a deuce.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of Championship Week is presented by 7-Up. If you want 100% natural lemon and lime flavors, the only way to go is up.
They've come to the big city looking for the Big East Championship, and right now Syracuse and Pittsburgh having quite a tug of war over this title. Syracuse back up by 2, led by Jerry McNamara. Deafening cheers of his name during the timeout. Dad Jerry, Mom Joyce looking on. Dad stoic as always. What a career it has been for Jerry McNamara as a freshman, helping to lead Syracuse to the national championship. Last year, of course, a key role as the Orange won the Big East Tournament Championship, something they're trying to defend right here. And quite simply, he'll go down as one of the best players ever to put on the orange jersey.
Yeah, I think in the future when he rolls through Syracuse, they'll remember his name.
He will certainly go down as one of the most popular. There's a mix of folks here tonight from New York, Syracuse, Scranton, and elsewhere. Devoted supporters of Jerry McNamara, a very pro-Syracuse crowd. Looking for the contact. Graves with a block. Good play by Graves. 3-on-2 Pittsburgh. Krauser. Young. Skies to the rim. Couldn't finish. McNamara the other way. Off the glass. No. Rebound Aaron Gray. And a foul is committed by Louis McCroskey. And that'll be number 4 on McCroskey.
And that's the kind of play that drains both these teams. Again, 4th game and 4th night. You don't quite have the legs. You see Sam Young not able to elevate. And on the other end, again, pushing the ball up the floor. Jerry McNamara a little bit off balance.
Eric Devendorf will come in for McCroskey. He sits down after his 4th. Remember, Terrence Roberts has 4 fouls. And Syracuse not a very deep team. Syracuse over the limit, the 1-and-1 for Gray. Neither one of these teams that proficient at making free throws. That could be the difference between champion and runner-up here tonight. Pittsburgh slightly better during the season and significantly better here tonight. Gray got his arms in the way. Another turnover. Fields. Krauser and a block by Watkins, and then Gray missed a follow.
Boy, 2 layups in a row missed by Pittsburgh. Boy, that might come back to haunt him.
McNamara splits the double team in the corner and slows it down. What a missed opportunity there for Aaron Gray and the Panthers. He's working so hard and he's gotten so much better. He's just having trouble this week finishing around the rim.
Again, it's all about rushing. You take your time, but you play with power.
Young, good D. McNamara telegraphed that pass a little bit. Fields.
Boy, how nifty was Fields, surrounded by orange shirts. Still able to maintain his dribble, advance the ball, and then find an outlet.
They're in good hands with him. He's the heir apparent at the point once Krauser is done at the end of the year. 6 minutes to go in the championship game here in New York. Syracuse trying to complete an improbable story here this week by winning 4 in a row. Same for Pittsburgh, but Syracuse's story a little bit more improbable. Around and out for Aaron Gray.
Well, we've seen this night after night with Aaron Gray, but again, it's his perseverance that ultimately gets the job done. And if you're Pittsburgh, you hope he doesn't give up on himself, that he doesn't pass up shots.
Jim Boeheim calls a timeout. Syracuse down to 1. As you saw, they've made only 1 field goal in the last 9 minutes. Yet they lead by 2. The Orange have won 4 Big East tournament titles. The first came back in 1981 when the tournament was played at the Carrier Dome. Eric Sandefur with a steal and a slam for the then Orangemen. Villanova responding as Alex Bradley knocks down the jumper. But then with time running out in triple overtime, Leo Rautins with the tip in. He is named the most outstanding player of the Big East tournament. Syracuse winning 83-80. A footnote for Rautins fans. Leo probably sitting at home watching this game. His son Andy is a freshman on the current Syracuse team. That 6th seeded Syracuse team was the lowest seed ever to win the tournament, but again, they won that on their home floor. Whichever school wins will be the lowest seed to win here at Madison Square Garden. And there's Andy Rautins, a good shooter. Doesn't get a lot of minutes, but a bright future for Syracuse.
Well, right now, if I'm Syracuse, that timeout was important for a couple of things. One, both teams coming down with opportunities, not able to score. Obviously, 2-point advantage for Syracuse, but it also gave a chance for key guys to get a little bit of a blow, to get some rest now. I talked about the last 5 minutes. That's when you need the fresh legs. That's when the push comes from both teams.
Syracuse by 2. More great action coming your way tomorrow. Championship week presented by 7-Up. It's the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championship. Number 1 seed Texas, number 2 seed Kansas tomorrow at 3 on ESPN. McNamara off a screen. Not this time. Offensive rebound, Darryl Watkins. Out of bounds, it stays with Syracuse. McNamara wanted a foul called on Kendall.
Well, the thing that makes Jerry McNamara so tough when he comes off those screens, he comes off blazing. He comes off hard, and it's difficult for the defender to get in front. Hence, a lot of times, guys are left reaching.
Roberts. And it'll stay with Syracuse again. That's a pretty good play by Roberts. And
even better play by Krauser, though, who recovered just in time. Sometimes Roberts might be better served just to get up there on the glass. Watkins in excellent rebounding position.
Devendorf defended by Krauser. McNamara is being defended by Graves right now.
And Nichols being defended by Fields, and that's where Syracuse wanted to get the ball as Nichols tried to post Fields, but the pressure on the ball prevented it.
Here's Nichols, the 3. Demetrius Nichols with 15 points on the night, 4 3-pointers.
Well, if you can't get him on the post in the mismatch, get him on the wing and let him get the confidence to shoot over the shorter defenders. That time was Antonio Graves.
The junior class carrying its weight here tonight. Krauser calling for it. They close out on him in a hurry.
And again, the wings are extending to cover shooters on the wings.
Fields to Graves, and he answers with a 3 of his own. Antonio Graves with his 4th 3 of the night. Back to a 2-point lead for Syracuse. Just over 4 minutes to go.
Watch the screen down for Jerry McNamara coming off hard. Actually, they're trying to get Nichols open. He's got the hot hand, and Krauser is chasing him.
Nichols calling for the ball again, has Graves on him right now. Now Graves switches to Devendorf, and Fields on Nichols. McNamara into Watkins. Baseline Roberts. Syracuse by 4.
Excellent interior passing. And again, just when you think Darryl Watkins a little nervous with the ball inside, he makes a perfect pass.
He has played some of his most confident basketball here in New York this week. Fields long on the 3. Watkins a man on the glass tonight. Watkins with 11 rebounds in this game. The Syracuse fans at this end of the floor now on their feet, sensing that the Cinderella run might go all the way to the championship. We are here in New York, the final of the Big East Championship, presented by Aeropostale. With Len Elmore and Mark Jones, I'm Dan Shulman. As Syracuse has won 3 games by 4 points, trying to win the Big East Championship for the 2nd year in a row. The presentation of the trophy just minutes away. Who will claim it tonight in New York?
Without Jerry McNamara, we wouldn't have won 10 games this year. Okay? Not 10.
Jim Boeheim coming to the defense of his senior, Jerry McNamara, backing it up with his play. A 3 with less than a second to go to beat Cincinnati on Wednesday. A 3 in the last few seconds to force overtime against UConn on Thursday. And then after a 3 by McNamara, a great feed to Devendorf for the layup. Syracuse's only lead of the game. They beat Georgetown by 1. This is a team, remember, that 9 days ago lost to DePaul by 39 points. Came into the Big East Championship having lost 3 in a row, 9 of 13. Debatable whether they had done enough to get in at large. 4 days later, they are on the verge potentially potentially of the most improbable run to the championship, I think we'd agree, in Big East tournament history.
And the formula has been, obviously, get the front line involved. Tonight, 35 points, 22 rebounds, 7 blocks with Nichols, Robertson, Watkins, and allow McNamara to do his thing at the end.
Not so fast, says Carl Krauser. Krauser with 13. He's a guy can go 2 for 9, but you know what? He wants the ball. He wants the shot in the last 3 minutes. And boy, it seems like his percentage goes way up late in the game. He draws the assignment of defending Nichols right now. Graves is on McNamara as Syracuse takes the air out of the ball. Roberts, little miscommunication, 2-on-1. Kendall back to Fields. And it's out of bounds. Syracuse basketball, and the Pittsburgh bench livid at that call, thinking the ball should belong to them.
Well, the first mistake, Levance Fields, you got to use the backboard. To be fundamentally sound, you go up, use the backboard. Instead, he tries the floater and hits the front of the rim.
Tough to say for sure, but it looked like the right call. Pittsburgh, another missed opportunity, a 2-on-1, then a 3-on-2, and they don't get anything out of it. Missed layups. They have had their chances.
Well, it's the little things that win. But the big thing right now is all about defense. Defense wins championships. We've heard that often enough. But how better illustrated than right here down the stretch.
Shot clock at 2. Devendorf gets a good look. It's a 3. No, wait a minute. The officials are going to talk right now. Tim Higgins said 3. Jim Burr says 2. It is a 2 for Devendorf, the freshman, showing great composure with the shot clock running down.
Well, there it is. I'm talking about good defense. Fields leaves his feet, his right foot right toe squarely on the blue line. Good call by the officials.
A big shot for Devendorf. Look at Jim Boeheim. Think this championship means anything to him? He knows that bigger things lie ahead in the NCAA tournament, but he has won 4 and craving a 5th here tonight.
Well, again, the ball fake got the defender off his feet and cleared a look right there. And the thing I'm wondering, again, why do you leave your feet on the jump shooter at that particular time? I talked about fundamental defense wins championships. Mistake right there by Levance Fields. And an excellent play, obviously, by Eric Devendorf.
So Pittsburgh with the ball down 3. 1:15 to go. 9 fouls on Syracuse. So the next one automatically sends Pittsburgh to the line for 2 shots.
Plenty of time to get the best available shot. You try to get to 2. You try to get to the free throw line. Boy, a lot of contact off the dribble once again.
Kendall in traffic. Fields into Gray. And it's a 1-point game.
Smart play not to settle for the 3. That's the easy thing. Continue to put pressure, knowing that if you play good defense, you make a stop, you get it back.
Syracuse with 1 timeout, and now they're going to use that last timeout. Pittsburgh still has a couple. Just another nail biter for the Syracuse Orange here in New York.
That's right, another day at the office. Fields a little hesitation of his own. Froze the back line, and Aaron Gray made himself available. And for all that we've spoken about Aaron Gray missing layups, that was huge right there. He made sure that he was putting that one down.
Time now to take a look at our Siemens game track. Syracuse leading by 1. Another big night for Jerry McNamara. He's got 4 threes, 6 assists. The starters doing all the work just about for the Orange tonight. The senior on the other side, the leader Carl Krauser, having a very similar night statistically to McNamara. Pittsburgh not shooting the ball well at all, getting it done on the glass, fighting their way back from a 15-point first half deficit to get within 1. Remember, Syracuse beat Cincinnati by 1, beat UConn by 2 in overtime, beat Georgetown by 1, and now clinging to a 1-point lead over Pitt. 26 on the shot clock.
And you saw the double team on McNamara trying to take the ball out of his hands. I think Pittsburgh much more comfortable with Devendorf trying to run the show.
Devendorf draws the foul on Kendall. Eric Devendorf will be going to the line for 2 shots. Devendorf, a very good free throw shooter, 83%, and a very confident freshman.
Well, when the ball's in Devendorf's hands and he puts it on the floor, you know for the most part he's looking for his. So you got to really meet him a lot higher if you're Pittsburgh. You may not get another chance.
Pretty good stuff down the stretch here from Devendorf. First the jumper with the shot clock running down. Nails the first free throw.
Here's where the little things count. The block out if you're Pittsburgh. Tipping the ball if you can get a hand on it. I guess it's a moot point.
Back to a 3-point lead. Shot clock and game clock just about bang on. No call. Loose ball to the Orange.
That was, I'm not understanding how there was no call on that.
Watkins. Syracuse by 5. And there is a block on Devendorf, and Jim Boeheim furious at his freshman right now.
And well, he should be. 5-point lead with 18 seconds left. No need to put him on the line to score points with the clock stopped and allow the defense to set up in a one-possession game. That is absolutely something. And I would say that that was a foul on Syracuse. You can't get away with that.
Great play by
all
Roberts.
the officials were focused on that. I'm surprised. I am very surprised.
2 shots for Graves.
Again, the key is call what you see. Don't anticipate, well, it's crafty call Krauser. He's going to try to bait them into a foul or something along those lines. Call what you see. And you hate a game like this, well played by both sides. Guys play their heart out. You don't want to see it determined by a missed call that was obvious to just about everybody here. There was absolutely contact, and it wasn't incidental.
Graves trying to make it a one-possession game. Remember, Syracuse is out of timeouts. Roberts out, Wright in for Syracuse. Gray is going to go out now for Pittsburgh. Devendorf will inbound it for the Orange. Wright has it, and they'll foul him right away. McNamara is frustrated. Good play by Pittsburgh to foul Wright before he could get the ball to McNamara. McNamara wants to be shooting these free throws.
Well, in the end, Pittsburgh was doubling McNamara. They were leaving Wright by himself.
Don't forget the Mountain West Championship game is coming up next here on ESPN. It'll be the top seed, San Diego State, taking on the number 7 seed, Wyoming. And as you can see, they're just underway. Wright, a sophomore out of Utica, New York, 72% on the season. 8th team foul on Pittsburgh, 1-1 for Wright. Benjamin goes out. Gray comes back in for Pittsburgh. Now Kendall is going to come in for the Panthers as well. If Wright misses the front end, Pittsburgh will get the ball back in a one-possession game. Ramon will go out as Kendall checks back in. And now Ed Corbett has gone to the monitor. Jim Burr's over to confer with him.
Well, in Syracuse media guy, they do a nice job of tracking free throw shootings in the last 5 minutes and overtime. And Wright, he hasn't taken any shots in the last minute, but in the last 2 minutes, it's 3 for 3.
The officials evidently checking a timing issue to see how much time should be on the clock. It was 18-1 there. Now remember, they inbounded the ball to Wright, and then Wright was fouled. So a little bit came off the clock to bring it down to 17.4. Let's go Orange is the chant here. The predominantly pro-Syracuse crowd hoping for a second consecutive Big East Tournament championship. A team that came into New York on the bubble in the minds of many might wind up here with a trophy, and who knows, Len, maybe a 4 or a 5 seed if they can win this game. The Orange are out of timeouts. Josh Wright is going to go to the line. And now they've gone back to 18.4. They have put more time back on the clock. It was 18.1 when the free throws were being shot at the other end. They must have ruled that the clock did not start on the play that led to the foul on Devendorf.
And you just had a chance to see Jim Boeheim before he went out to this meeting have a discussion with Eric Devendorf and point out the madness of that play. Trying to take a charge when you're up 5. 2-possession ball game.
Now the crowd booing, but this is neither team's fault. This is the officials trying to make sure they get the timing right. It's critical at this point. Pittsburgh needs every 1/10 of a second they can scrounge up.
But what's happening is inadvertently it's icing the free throw shooter. We'll take a look right here. He's got it. The clock started when it should have.
There's nothing wrong there. If they're going back to 18-4, they must be ruling that on the previous play the clock didn't start, but I'm not sure quite how they've arrived at 18.4. You can see the Mountain West Championship is underway. That is the next game here on ESPN immediately following the conclusion of this game here in New York. Syracuse, the number 9 seed, 18 seconds away from its second consecutive Big East tournament title, something that only Georgetown in the mid-'80s and UConn in the late 90s have ever accomplished. Jerry McNamara has been big here tonight, Len, but the difference tonight is he's had a little bit more help from some of his teammates. Watkins, Roberts, Nichols, all those guys have come up pretty large here tonight.
Well, that's been the formula, as I mentioned before, of their success. You know, at some point during the course of 40 minutes, other guys have to step in and support Jerry McNamara, but they put him in the position to be successful.
And they've gone back now apparently to 17.4, which appears to be the proper call. And Josh Wright's had about 5 minutes to think about the biggest free throw or free throws of his life. 1-1 for Wright, 72% on the season.
Again, it's all about the little things for Pittsburgh on the inside part, and Wright just drains it. Back to a 2-possession ball game. Huge free throw. As we mentioned, Wright has never shot a free throw inside of a minute.
Huge.
Until now.
Massive free throws for Josh Wright and the Syracuse cause. Levance Fields.
Shoot it.
Krauser for 3.
Unbelievable.
He is amazing. The guy can go 1 for 11, and he's Larry Bird in the last 2 minutes of the game. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, there's no quitting Krauser. Fields gets caught right here, you know, wasting a little precious time with a jumper. I don't think a 3, particularly a pro 3, was the play that they were exactly looking for, but at least for the time being, all's well that ends well on that possession.
I kind of threw 1 for 11 out there to give you the exact numbers tonight. Krauser was 3 for 12, and then in the last couple of minutes has hit both of his shots, both 3-pointers. We expected a close game. It wouldn't be the Big East. It wouldn't be Syracuse and Pittsburgh if it was anything else. And the coaches were talking to us before the game. They know they're going to the tournament. This is about the electricity in the Garden in New York City and a battle for Big East supremacy.
Well, again, it's the kind of chemistry that makes for big game heroics. We've seen it 3 consecutive nights by Jerry McNamara. Right now, it looks as though they may not need another one from him.
Pittsburgh's major goal right here, keep the ball out of McNamara's hands. They do that, and Josh Wright is going to have a chance to go to the line again. 9th foul on Pittsburgh, 1-1 for Wright. He needs to make both to make it a 2-possession game. The Orange as a team, the worst free throw shooting team in the Big East on the season, but Wright has made a couple of big ones here tonight. And the Orange as a team tonight, after starting slow, 4 for 10, have made 5 in a row. Changes for both teams now. Devendorf out, Roberts in, Benjamin out, Gray in.
Pittsburgh has 1 timeout, Syracuse none, and they may well want to call one if missed, but
the stress evident on the face of Devendorf. Josh Wright's not going to be able to walk around campus anonymously anymore up in Syracuse. 4 in a row. Krauser. And the Syracuse Orange have pulled off the most improbable Big East championship in the 27-year history of this event. They came from nowhere, made miracle shots, beat top-ranked teams, win 4 in 4 days, And the Orange are the Big East champs for the second year in a row.
And tonight in the championship game, able to do it, not having to rely on Jerry McNamara's last-minute heroics, but able to do it with a quick start offensively, getting other people involved. You know, playing with an awful lot of confidence. Down the stretch, fatigue was not an issue for either team. It was all about who wanted it the most. Pittsburgh with a gutty performance and closing the gap. But in the end, better execution by Syracuse.
Syracuse won this one by 4 points. They won the 4 games in this tournament by 8 points. Thousands of folks chanting Jerry McNamara's name as Mark Jones gets set to talk to Jim Boeheim.
Coach, you go from a bubble team just a few days ago to now a sure spot and potentially a very, very good seed. How were you able to inspire your team on this run?
I didn't. Jerry McNamara did, and everybody pulled together, and it's unbelievable to see Josh Wright go to the free throw line and make those 4 free throws. To me, that was the greatest thing about this game. Both teams gave it everything they had, and both teams got tired. I've never seen Jerry so tired, but he's going to keep trying and keep playing. Our guys just got it out. I think Pittsburgh's a great team, but, you know, this was just one of those things that we weren't to be denied tonight. And Josh Wright making those free throws and Eric making that tough shot he made, it was just a great win.
Tell us about Jerry's legacy now. How much has he cemented it, and what is it at Syracuse?
It was cemented long before this, but people will remember this 4-day performance for forever. Every game, he was there every game for us.
Did you really speak to a committee member at halftime as reported?
No.
How far can this team go now in the tournament?
Well, last year we won this thing and didn't get past the first round, so there's no guarantees. We just got to take the momentum, take it back home, and get ready. Anything can happen in college basketball. As you just said, we went from being out of the tournament to being pretty good.
Right. All right. Congratulations, guys. They go back-to-back. Back to you.
Unbelievable. No surprise, Jerry McNamara, the winner of the Dave Gavitt Trophy as the most outstanding player of the Big East Championship. What an unbelievable week for him and the Orange. Don't forget, Wyoming and San Diego State are coming up next. The Mountain West Championship is on the way here on ESPN. But first, let's revisit an unbelievable week for the Orange here in New York City.
Let's go.
McNamara, a three-point run. Jerry McNamara for the second day in a row.
McNamara got it. And tonight the magic continued for the Syracuse Orange, again led by McNamara. 14.6 assists, hit 4 threes, but he got some help from his friends, including those 4 massive free throws by Josh Wright near the end of the game. For Len Elmore, Mark Jones, and our entire crew, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks for watching as we go to Dave Pasch and Hubert Davis with the call of our next game. Well, the Syracuse Orange, Len, nobody could have seen this coming, winning 4 games in 4 days. They've gone from a bubble team to a very good seed. How good is this team? Can they sustain this through the NCAA tournament?
Well, I don't see why they won't, simply because they play a 2-3 zone that's very difficult for people to get a handle on, difficult for people to solve, especially if they get past the first round. You get to the second round with 1 day of preparation, they can be very tough to deal with. And then on the offensive end, obviously Jerry McNamara, no one can ever estimate how important he is to this team and how big his heart is when it comes down to last-second opportunities.
Pittsburgh was the number 6 seed. They got all the way to the championship game, almost won this game. How good is this team, and what do you see for them going forward?
Well, I see a team that plays solid defense. The first half, their offense wasn't working very well. They turned the ball over, which led to double-digit points for Syracuse. If they can solve those issues, their defense is really what's going to carry them through. And when you play good defense, you always have a chance to win.
Syracuse won their 4 games here in this tournament by a total of 8 points. Does that speak to how many teams are closely bunched together and how competitive this and the NCAA tournament are probably going to be?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in this conference, everybody knows each other pretty much, and so everything is concentrated. You get to the NCAA tournament, when people don't know each other, they usually play it close to the vest, so you're going to see some very tight ball games.
The Orange looking ahead right now, still soaking up the atmosphere here in New York. An improbable Big East tournament championship for Syracuse as they defend their crown and win this title for the 2nd year in a row. Back to the studio.
Clutch. Mr. Clutch.
They sure did. And you talked about the DePaul loss, 39 points just 9 days ago, Len. There was no way to see this coming. And now for thousands of Syracuse fans here and these players, it's an unforgettable week.
Well, you can explain it in a couple of ways. First of all, from a basketball standpoint, the ability to get other people involved, and it all began with that guy right there, Jerry McNamara. In the end, it comes down to him, obviously with his last second heroics, but more importantly, getting other guys involved. Tonight, 14 points, 6 assists, got involved early, and then he just waited for his opportunity to take his shots, and he delivered.
Getting a hug from assistant coach Mike Hopkins for a job well done. It started on Wednesday in the late stages of the game against Cincinnati, down 2. Final second, the running 3 goes. Syracuse, at that point considered a bubble team, beats Cincinnati. The next day, with less than 6 seconds to go, a 3 to force overtime, the Orange beat the Huskies 86-84. Then after a late 3, an assist from McNamara to Devendorf for the layup that gave them a 1-point lead. They would win by 1. And then coming into tonight, maybe not quite as dramatic in the late stages, but just as effective, Len.
Well, they certainly weren't. Again, you see the pass from McNamara. Everybody's focusing on Jerry McNamara right now. They were a little bit too late. Levance Fields, a little too much respect for McNamara. But when it's all said and done, he was the center of attention on the back of every tabloid in New York City, and it's well-deserved.
McNamara with 14 points, 6 assists, now getting a very meaningful hug from his dad, Jerry, who's at every single game, almost always stoic, but you can imagine what he's feeling on the inside watching his son and giving his son a high five. And those smiles speak volumes about what that family is going through and how much they're enjoying this. A short time ago, our Mark Jones had a chance to speak with Jerry McNamara.
Jerry, how special was this one compared to last year?
This means a lot, man. Guys like Terrence and guys that had to face a lot of critics this year, and we had a tough year, and rightfully so. We had some critics, but the way we played down here is pretty impressive. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. I'm more proud of this team than any team I played on.
How did you guys manage to go from a potential NIT team and now to go to the NCAA tournament by winning this?
Everything we got in here. Everything.
That's right.
We got here, the whole team.
That's right. You know, there was no quit. That's what we kept saying, no quit, and that's all it takes. You know, anytime you leave everything out on the floor, you can't be ashamed of yourself, and that's all we did down here.
You got Terrence Roberts, your teammate beside you. How big was his play?
Huge. Him and Mookie and Demetrius, the guys that rebounded, Matty Gorman and Renze, those guys that rebounded the ball this week, that's why we won games. I made shots, but those guys kept us in games, and that's what it comes down to. When our big guys come to play, we're pretty tough to beat.
What's your legacy going to be at Syracuse?
I don't know. I just, you know, I love winning games. I hate to lose, and you know, that's my main focus is just try to win, and you know, that's what I try to do. And you know, if I'm successful at the end of my career, I'll be pretty happy.
What's it going to take for you guys to make a nice strong run like this in the NCAA tournament?
Play like this, play as hard as we can for 40 minutes, and we'll be fine. I think, you know, we can win a couple games here and there, and you know, hopefully we do that. If we play as hard as we did down here, we have a chance of doing that.
Not bad for overrated, man. Guys, back to you.
And that comment from Mark going back to the early part of the week where Jim Boeheim was very upset about an article in the Syracuse newspaper, a poll of other Big East coaches anonymously, where one of them said Jerry McNamara, is the most overrated player in the league. He was the best player in the league this week. He put his team on his back and carried them to a Big East championship.
Well, if anybody knows anything about basketball, you look at McNamara's numbers, what he's done from beyond the arc, and translate that into a pretty decent shooting percentage. But more importantly, just as his teammate Terrence Roberts said, everything Syracuse needs is in the chest of Jerry McNamara, that big heart. And again, you heard them refer to the fact that they get their bigs involved. It makes everything easier. Tonight, 37 of their 65 points comes from the front line. A lot of that were assists from Jerry McNamara and the other guards, and that's what will make them tough in the NCAA tournament if they get their big people involved and get a little more diverse in their production.
And looking forward, this has gone from a bubble team to a team that could get a great seed, maybe a 4 or 5.
You don't want a 5.
You don't want a 5. 5-12 avoid. You'd rather be a 6. But they're going to get a good seed, and they beat 3 ranked teams here, and it's going to be fascinating to follow this team forward and see if what they built on here, if they can carry that forward and continue it in the NCAA tournament. The Orange back-to-back champions in the Big East tournament. Back to you. Thank you.
Man, this is crazy. What's the clutch? What's the clutch? Just stand up and act like you're MVP. That's what you
Get you some, Murph.
Go, Kippy. You gotta put that around your neck, dude. Put that around your neck, man. Which one did you cut?
Let G cut the last one. I told him
One more snip.
there's only one more. So,
That's slow.
yeah, just cut it off and take it with you. I'm just going to cut off the side.
Hold my wrist. Good job.